Having lunch.
I'm having lunch. Early on in my marriage, when my husband would ask how my day was, my response was always just listing the things I got done that day, as if that was an answer. Because to me, what I accomplished was my life. In my head, the more I could produce, the more valuable I was. I was in a rat race to get somewhere, but I didn't know where. I often lived by when I, then I statements. When I lose weight, then I'll like my body. When I graduate, then my life will start. When I make this much money, then I'll be content. It allowed me to accrue achievements and feel good about myself for a moment, but then there was always more to do, more to get done, more to be. Draining was an understatement. My journey to slowing down and simplifying my life has been long. There has been sweetness to the process, but also a painstaking undoing of decades worth of striving, overachieving, and eventually burnout. This is a tree. It's a literal tree. I thought slowing down would mean inefficiency, laziness, or lack of results. But what I actually found was quite shocking. Slow living was not just the antidote to my hustling addiction, but the avenue for where true productivity was, where my life aligned with my values and beliefs. I invested in what was most important, and out of rest and slowness saw beautiful, life-giving work take form. Today, I want to share 5 things that I did that helped me to break that addiction I had to constantly being productive all the time. I realize it's kind of ironic that I said break the addiction of being productive all the time by doing these 5 things, but I think that once I get into them, you'll understand. The first thing, my eyes were really opened to the work-rest cycle, and I started to structure my life within that. Anywhere you look in all of creation, even in our bodies, everything functions in a work and rest cycle. On a 24-hour period, we are awake and we're working. We sleep every single day. A woman's body has a cycle. Our period is actually like the winter of our body. It is when we need the most rest. It is when we need the most kind of internal recuperation. Whereas other phases of our cycle, like our ovulation cycle, that is when we can really burst forth, be very productive, give a lot of energy outward. You cannot have summer all year long. We have to have a winter. We have to have a reset. I used to think that rest was a reward. It was like a reward for being productive. If you got all the things that you needed to done, then you rested. I couldn't even touch the idea of true rest because rest was something that was far away over here that I would only be able to earn if I finished all my work, which is subjective, and we'll get to that in a second. I began to carve that cycle into the way my life was structured and now the way my family's life is structured. Everywhere you look in my life, you will often see these cycles. Even in the way that I post on YouTube, I don't post every week on YouTube. I have a 3 on, 1 off. My family and I, we take a Sabbath every week. There is a day that is a rest day. We play as a family. We are not on our technology. We do not do housework. When I'm on my period, I choose not to work out. I do very gentle stretching. There are so many areas of my life that I have chosen to carve the work and rest ebb and flow into my life. A lot of times, if you're anything like me and you were that personality, that overachiever, where you're like, I have to be productive, you feel uncomfortable when you have a moment when maybe your kid is sleeping or there's a quiet moment and you're like, I should be doing something right now. I should be cleaning. I should be working. You are never able to rest. I've seen families do this where they decide that there is a season every year that they do not sign up for extracurriculars. This is the time where we are going to do family game nights and we are going to spend quiet time at home and we're going to really just relish in this slow season of rest. Am I living in the way that I was designed to live, where I have ebbs and flows, I have a work-rest cycle? Or am I trying to reject those limitations and live outside of them? And what I have found is that when I try to live outside of my God-given limitations, it does not end well. This, I feel like, is a really helpful number 1 because it is logistical. You can literally look in your days. Or do you go all day without a break at all? Look at your seasons. Are you and your family just packed with extracurriculars all seasons? You know, are you one of those people that says, I work out 3 days a week no matter where I am in my cycle, like I'm a machine? If we want to truly produce fruit in our life, the soil has to rest. Number 2, is doing the inner work and rewriting those old narratives. For those of us who struggle with feeling like what we produce is our worth. We're those overachievers. We can never sit still. We're hustlers. It's not a big jump to say that those of us who are obsessed with producing often are people pleasers. Yes, we live in a world that pushes hustle culture for sure, but I think that a lot of times for those of us that really struggle with this, it's a lot more personal for us. Things that we've been told about that we needed to do in order to be loved, in order to be good enough. In the underbelly of people pleasing, it's about safety and it's about control. It's the lie that says if I can anticipate other people's needs, of what other people need me to be, super mom or this perfect friend or overachiever, I always get these grades, whatever it is, then I can secure that person's love. It's essentially a form of controlling your environment to feel safe, that you're gonna get your needs met and that you're gonna receive the love that you need. It's actually very childlike. That's not real safety. And this part was crucial for me because I was running a rat race for a very long time. And there were things I did that helped me slow down, but I really had to get clear on why I was in it on the first place. What was I afraid to lose? What was I hoping to get? And that's the difference. It's the difference between me putting effort into my parenting and my home or my work on YouTube, like pouring into my relationships, like wanting to do a good job because I have been stewarded with a lot and I've been blessed with a lot and I want to do well by that. That is a beautiful thing. It's the difference between that versus if I don't do XYZ, if I am not perfect in this way, I'm a bad mom. I'm undeserving. And we have to take those apart and we have to say, where are those coming from? Are those actually reflective of my values and what I want to be and what I want to teach my kids? And you got to do that work of parceling that out and applying a new truth to it. Pulling the root as to like where they come from, what you are believing about yourself, where you're finding your identity, that is all extremely important. It's very personal to you. Therapy was super helpful for me with that. My marriage, my husband's wonderful, kind listener, he's helped me process out loud things. I do this in prayer with the Lord. Like there are many avenues that I am still working through this. Notice your like mind spiraling, to identify it and to speak truth over it and to kind of rewrite that story. The third thing that has been really, really important for me is to differentiate between busyness and productivity. I made the mistake for a very long time thinking that being busy and being productive are the same thing. If you're like me, you basically assumed that a good day was one where you kind of just kept moving. Like it was like you just kept checking things off the list. You kept doing and going. It's really easy when we're in constant motion to be in so much motion that we never stop and really reflect on if we are moving toward the things we want to be moving towards, or if we're just valuing motion for the sake of spinning our wheels. One of my favorite illustrations of this that I think about so often is the story of Martha and Mary. Martha and Mary at their house, and Martha is just, she's zooming, okay? It's like we can all picture our moms have done that. She's like, Jesus and the disciples are coming over and she's cleaning and she's getting stuff ready. Now Mary, on the other hand, she's not doing any of this, okay? She's sitting and she's listening to Jesus. She's just present. She's there. She's like, absolutely not. I will not be distracted from this. Martha's peeved, okay? She says, Lord, aren't you gonna tell my sister to help me? I have drinks, I'm cleaning, like what's going on? And Jesus says, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need for only one thing, and Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. This is a deep cut for me. I am Martha. And what's really interesting to me is not that what she was doing was inherently wrong. We get so caught up in the things that we're doing and what we think needs to be done, we lose sight of the most important things. She chose busyness. Mary chose what was the most productive. I think a lot of times on YouTube, we see slow living and it's like this aesthetic, right? It's like someone in a beautiful dress and they're living on a cottage in the woods. I have no knock on that. Honestly, it looks like a dream. But people, I think, tend to think that that's what slow living is. And then you compare your life, we got 5 kids, someone just spilled milk, someone's fighting with someone else. Slow living to me, it's not about an aesthetic or a certain kind of life or not doing things. It's about turning down the speed dial on your life so that you can truly discern what is the most actually productive, what is the most important, what reflects your values, what is moving the needle towards where you want to go. There are seasons of life that may bring more work or less work. There's ebbs and there's flows, but as long as your eyes are set on what is the most important to you, what your values are, what is most important to you as a family, you can discern what is most productive and to not simply settle on the fool's gold of productivity, which is busyness. Number 4, minimize your silent to-do list. In his book, Goodbye Things, Sasaki talks about how everything we own gives off these silent messages all the time to our brain, asking us to take care of them. We're constantly getting messages from these things to declutter, to clean, to manage, to do things. And that is a constant kind of ongoing background noise that we hear all the time in our home. I am convinced that one of the most helpful things I did for my compulsive need to always be productive, that feeling like I could never rest, I always had to be doing something, was to radically simplify my inventory and belongings. This goes for really minimizing the items I owned and radically simplifying and minimizing my technology clutter as well. Scrolling social media and being reminded about everyone else's to-do list, right? So you see this woman and she's doing this task and you go, oh, that's kind of like an important thing. Should I be doing that? This woman talking about an online business. Should I be starting an online business? I feel like I should. Maybe I could do that. You now are taking on everyone else's to-do list, what's important to everybody else. It's not bad things, but you now have a silent to-do list that is miles long. I call it the perimeter of extra stress, which is like, now I'm feeling a way about how I'm feeling because I have to add this, and this woman's doing it better, and this person has a nicer house, and whatever. So if you feel like you really, every day, you're like, I have too much to do. Do you have too much clutter in your home communicating silent to-dos? Are you spending too much time on your phone, online, intaking more of those silent to-dos, leading to more overwhelm and more paralysis? Number 5, the thing I did to break my addiction to being productive all the time. I opted out of hurry culture. I kind of view hurry culture as like hustle culture's twin brother. Often where you find one, you usually are gonna find the other. And in my life, so much of that, both of that, centered around this destination mentality. Like my whole life was about getting to certain destinations. When I look this way, I'll be happier. You know, when I graduate, my life will begin. When we get married, when I have a kid, I mean, you name it. Whatever destination it is in your mind, whatever it is that you don't think is available to you right now. If my life was only this like snapshot of like results and destinations, of course I want to get there faster. Right? Of course you want to get there faster so that your life can begin and you can be feeling all these things. And that's why I was like always in a rush. I graduated from college early. I would listen to podcasts at 1.5. I power walked everywhere. Like my whole life was a rush because I wanted to feel these things I thought were somewhere else, and I wanted to get there as fast as I possibly could. I had this disdain for the journey and the process of things. In my rushing of life, I was only ever concerned about the end result. You know, I got to do this task so I can check it off my list so it's done. We were in a hard season and I would just like try to rush that season and just like, I want it to be done. Missing that God had things to teach me there. There was opportunities for joy and peace there. My eyes were not open to them. Living life like it's a series of destinations, it's such a trick. And I have to ask, why are we rushing so much in the first place? Why are we trying to cram so much in our everyday anyway? My life is not just made up of tasks on a to-do list. Not seeing myself in, before and afters. It has allowed me the space to practice laying down the constant idol of busyness in my life, and to instead practice the art of slowness and presence, because that's really what it is to me. It's a practice. I'm not naturally good at it. I hope that this speaks to you and is encouraging to you. If one of them spoke to you more than another, I would love if you could leave a comment and let me know. I'm always encouraged to hear from you all, where you are on your journey, what stuck out to you. If you are into this kind of content, I would love to see you join our community. I will see you in the next video.